Good morning everybody, I'm Sarah with our furniture flipping adventure and welcome back to our channel. Today we have a big project ahead of us. We got this dresser after it was abandoned in a rental and the property owner just wanted it gone. So my husband actually brought it down a flight of stairs all by himself by flipping it on its top and just sliding it down. But we only paid $20 for it and I am so excited to give it a makeover. So let's go ahead and get started and get flipping. Alright, so if you've been around the channel for any length of time, you know that I'm about to clean this up, but if you're new here, I clean all my pieces using generally Crud Cutter. It's a degreasing cleaner that's just going to get all the dirt, grime, oils off my piece before I begin. And while I'm doing this, I'm going to be pulling the drawers out. I'm also going to be washing the insides of these, but a lot of these had the plastic guide pieces that go on the track. A lot of the drawers have broken ones, so I'm going to be pulling them all out, taking a tally of how many I need so I can go to the hardware store and pick them up and replace them. I'm also going to be taking the knobs off and saving them because they're awesome. So these are going to be a little bit of a process. I'm going to have to do the whole dresser by hand just to make sure that I don't mess up this wicker. I'm going to be going very lightly. I don't want to go through any of the finish. I just want to lightly scuff up the surface. And then on the wicker parts, I'm using such light grit sandpaper and I'm going to go very, very lightly over them. I am going to be painting them. No idea how this is going to turn out, but all we can do is figure it out as we go along. So I'm going to put my mask on and I'm going to get to sanding this whole dresser down by hand. So some of my wicker, especially on the drawer fronts, is damaged. Not so much that the wicker itself is broken, but the finish on it is scratched and missing pieces of it. So I can't use the finish as it was. So I've been experimenting with some spray paint. I've watched a few different YouTubers, a few different bloggers who've spray painted wicker, and I've been looking for the right color, and these are the two most popular ones. This is nutmeg, which is down here, and khaki, which is up here. Khaki is just too bright for me. Nutmeg is what I'm going to go with. It's not exactly what I was looking for, but in the end I think it's going to be the closest to what I want to do with the dresser. So I'm going to spray all the wicker with the nutmeg spray paint, and then I will hand paint around the edges. Sneak peek as to what we're doing. So I only pulled the trigger for the nozzle down part way to get a very light misting spray so I could go over the wicker back and forth and up and down and get all the crevices without getting it really drippy and runny. And while that worked well on my wicker part and it covered nicely, I ended up with a whole bunch of drippy, gunky overspray on the sides of my drawers. So I just finished, and I'm not impressed with the amount of overspray that I did. I'm apparently pretty bad with a spray can because I have got drips and runs all over this poor thing. So I don't know if I should try to go in now with a rag and try to clean up some of my mess real fast before it dries. It's mostly dried. I'm gonna have to sand around the edges. Yep. So I was messy and I'm gonna be paying for it with a bunch of sanding. So onward. Sanding off all the overspray was not exactly a fun task, but it really needed done. It was drips and buildup in different areas that really needed sanded off if I wanted a good, smooth, finished product. So while it was time consuming and just a pain, it was absolutely necessary, and I'm glad I did that step. Now you may recognize this color. It is Unplugged by Behr, and I've used it before on my Battle of the Styles for my modern versus farmhouse, and the modern one, which is this color, and it's a beautiful dark olive green, and it will play beautifully with the brown tones in the wicker. So sanding took me a lot longer than I wanted. It was quite meticulous and time consuming to get over this rounded trim, and then I went back through with a rag and gave it a quick dusting, and now I'm ready to get my paint on. I'm going to use my little Worcester, I think that's called Shortcut, just because it's a very narrow brush, and I'm not going to use it on the trim itself. I'm going to come back with a smaller artist brush to get that, so that I don't get any paint on the wicker part. But hopefully we don't get any bleed through. As you see, I didn't prime the piece because of the small meticulous little details of it all. So if I do get any bleed through, I'm just going to have to spot treat it as I go. So I'm hoping to not get any, but if I do, then I will just shellac the area and continue painting. So that's the plan, and I better get started. So as you saw, I kind of painted this dresser in many stages. While the wicker was drying after I sprayed it, I went ahead and painted the top that same night, but then I waited for the drawer fronts and sides until the morning light came and got that first coat on all over, and then I worked on the second coat all at once. But the first coat kind of went on here and there throughout the first 2 days of the project. And after the main part of the doors and drawers were finished, I had to go back there with a small artist brush to get that rounded molding around the wicker. This was probably the most annoying part, just because you had to be very steady and precise, and those are two things I am not. It's about 8 o'clock at night, and we just got back from the park, and Andrew's gonna get the kids in bed for me while I work on getting the second coat onto this dresser here. Pardon me, I'm gonna open my can up with my keys. I think the first coat probably took me twice as long as a normal dresser would painting it by hand, just because of all the little trim and everything. It's very slow going and meticulous. And I have to concentrate so I can't talk. But it's definitely a very time-consuming dresser to be doing, but I think that the results are going to be beautiful, but I can't see myself rushing out and buying another one right away. If one suddenly became available tomorrow, I probably would pass on it because it's really slow going, and I don't like using the detail brush very much. Not that I can't do it, it just adds a layer of complexity that I'm not gonna really probably make back money-wise. We'll have to see what I can sell this for, but if I can't sell it for much more than a normal painted piece of furniture, then it's not worth all the extra effort. If it weren't for the fact that I just like making things pretty. It's definitely a more masculine look than I generally go for. Very dark kind of muted colors. It seems lately I've been doing a lot of bright blues, and the piece behind me is white and gold, so definitely a different color palette than my normal, but I like it. We'll see what my market thinks of it though. Hopefully I'm just gonna need these 2 coats. I think I'm gonna wax this piece. I haven't fully decided, but I think I'm gonna wax it. So as you can see, I did decide to go ahead and wax it. One of the reasons is because I didn't put that primer on, and sometimes you get more bleed through when you put a top coat on, especially a wet poly top coat. So wax doesn't tend to bring out bleed through as much as polyurethane or polyacrylic does, so I decided to go for wax. Plus it gives the piece a really nice sheen, and I thought that would look very nice with this piece. Now you may think that putting wax over the wicker is a terrible mistake, but it actually didn't turn out so bad. There was a little bit of wax buildup that I had to deal with, but I'll show you how I did that a little later. But for the wicker part, I just made sure that my brush was pretty dry, barely had any wax on it, and I gently went over the wicker parts just so that they were covered, but that they weren't overly saturated, because that wax buildup will dry white and be stuck in all those crevices. And like I said, I did go over some areas a little too heavily and did get some of that buildup, but I will show you how I fixed that right here. I simply went back over a little bit later with my wax again with a smaller detailed brush, and I reactivated it. I used actually a different wax for this part. I used the Verithane's wax, which is a more liquidy wax, and it reactivated that old wax in there, and then I was able to wipe the excess out. So normally at this point in the video I'm completely done, but I actually have a little more work to do on this dresser. I'm going to add an extra coat of wax to all the high touch areas, and I still need to put the new drawer guides, the little plastic pieces on the drawers, but there were so many of them that needed replaced. We're going to be ordering them in a bulk package instead of buying them singly, so I have to wait for those to show up. So this project is almost done, but not completely perfectly finished, and I'm not going to be able to list it before I head out of the country next week. I get to go up to Canada to see my brother married, and I'm very excited for that trip, and I'm actually going to be flipping 2 pieces of furniture while I'm up there. He asked me to redo 2 dressers for him and his wife as a wedding gift, so that is going to be super exciting, and I'm going to have to pack a bunch of my tools and hope the airplane doesn't mind. I should probably look into that before I put all my power tools in a piece of checked luggage and then have it confiscated or something. I'll look up the rules. So this piece is almost finished, so I wanted to show it off before we left, but it has a little bit of tweaking left to do, and that's okay. Was it a fun piece to flip? Nope. It was a tedious and annoying piece to flip, but it's gorgeous and I can't wait to get it out of my shop and sold. But I just wanted to say thank you so much for sticking with us, and we'll see you guys next time on our furniture flipping adventure. With our upcoming trip, there will probably be a few videos that we miss, but I'll let you guys know ahead of time. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, I'm Sarah with our furniture flipping adventure. Bye.